circumcision, I would agree, is genital mutilation. So just because it's seen as though Muslims do it, it does not necessitate that that is a prescribed part of Islamic Sharia law. And as I say, one of the aspects, unfortunately, is people constantly look at the penal code of Islam. So one of the things you will constantly hear about is the cutting the hand of the thief. But there are 7 conditions that have to be met before the hand of the thief can be cut. One of them is that they were not stealing out of nutritional necessity. So one of the requirements under the Islamic State is the financial standing of the person will be thoroughly investigated by the Islamic court. So if the person was stealing to feed their nutritional requirements, well then one of the 7 conditions have not been met, and thus you cannot cut the hand of the thief. The second issue is the punishment of those who fornicate, or those who commit affairs under the Islamic State. Number one, before such a punishment can be issued within society, you have to have 4 witnesses. Now the likelihood is, if you're running around the back door to go and sleep with your friend's wife, you're not exactly going to invite 4 people to come and have a look. So there is no way that that particular law can be met. The only other way it can be done is if there is less than 4 witnesses, then whoever accounted or saw it must swear by God what they saw was correct and invoke the curse of God on them if they are incorrect. But there is also another further stipulation. To be blunt, they have to see the penis entering the vagina. There is an occasion at the time of Umar bin Khattab, who was the second caliph after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and a group of the disciples of the Prophet Muhammad found 2 people sleeping with each other who were not married. And those people went to see Umar bin Khattab and they said, we saw these people and they were good. And Umar bin Khattab said, did you see this man's penis enter this woman's vagina? And they said, no, we didn't. He said, well, if you go out and you tell people that you saw them doing it, I will punish you. And they said, but no, we saw it, we saw it. And he said, look, I'm going to reiterate this to you one more time. Did you see that man's penis enter that woman's vagina? And they said, no, we didn't. Then he said, I'm going to take you and I will lash you 80 times because you have slandered those people. So there are conditions that must be met under every Islamic penal code. They cannot be arbitrarily put out into society and implemented. There have to be conditions. And unfortunately, one of the conditions that is not being held by many Islamic countries today is there should not be a partisan, should be implemented Islamic law. Many people will look at countries such as Saudi Arabia and use that as a justification to say, well, look, here's a country that implements Islamic law, but look at the wrongs that are done. It's barbaric. Number one, the Saudi regime implement the law on the poor. They don't implement it even on their own rich. So I, as Abdul Karim, could go to Saudi Arabia and could be carrying 2 keys of cocaine and I can be punished. But a Saudi prince or princess could be caught carrying 10 times what I have, but they get off with it because they're members of the royal family. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, laid down the requirements for punishment. And he said of his old daughter Fatima, may God be pleased with her, that even if she had stolen and she had met the requirements for having her hand cut off, that he would see himself that her hand was cut off. So Islamic law should not be partisan to Arabs or any particular elite. It is a law that is meant to be implemented on the rich and poor alike. What is the Sharia? Taken from the book Sharia, the Islamic law by Abdul Rahman al-Adil, he says the following. Sharia is an Arabic word meaning the path to be followed. Literally, it means the ways of ordering place. It is the path not only leading to God the Most High, but the path leading by all Muslims to be the path shown by God, the Creator Himself through His messenger, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In Islam, God alone is sovereign. It is He who has the right to ordain a path for the guidance of mankind, and has the right to ordain a path for guidance of mankind. Thus, it is only Sharia that is the liberation from the subservitude of other than God. And one of the things I find is quite interesting, one of the meanings of the word sharia, it means leading to a watering place. And I think this is something that when many of the aspects of the Quran were revealed, they were very poetic. They were metaphors. Similarly, you have in Shakespearean English, you'll say a rose by any other name is still a rose. In Islam, you have many aspects like this. So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, often would say that certain people in their characteristics are like the donkey, some people are like the hawk, some people are like the loyalty of cats or so forth. And as I said, the metaphor given here, water, because water is essential for life. You can survive many weeks without food, but you cannot survive an extended period without water. So essentially, law is essential for life, for living. We need some kind of legislative system to govern our lifestyle. Otherwise, we're governing them by what in Arabic is called our nafs, our hawa, our evil and corrupted desires. Sharia is nothing new in God's plan. As Muslims, we believe in the previous revelations that came before. I cannot be a Muslim unless I believe in the Bible. I cannot be a Muslim unless I believe in Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. And if we look here in this particular verse from Matthew 5:17, Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law," in Arabic would be Sharia, "or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." So continuously from the beginning of creation, when God has revealed to the many prophets and nations that came previously, there was always the central core of a divinely revealed law being given to mankind by which they must orientate themselves by, an axis by which they must rotate on. The Sharia is an integral part of the life of the Muslim that molds and shapes who they are. And it is a misapplication that creates a misnomer in Muslims and a misunderstanding in many Islamic societies and many non-Islamic societies. And I want you to think of it like this, the integrity of the Sharia law to a Muslim. You have a driving license and you have the prophets of Islam. For you to drive in any society, you must pass a test. Then you are given your license to drive. If you do not pass your test to drive, then you are legally not obligated to drive. The same way as I just mentioned, as a Muslim, you must believe in all of the prophets of God that came previously to be a Muslim. So you can't say, I'm a Muslim, but I don't believe in Jesus and Noah. If you do not believe in those two prophets that came before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, then you have forfeited your legal requirement of being called a Muslim. Now we know if you don't learn how to drive properly, inevitably you can have a car crash. Or, if you don't learn to legislate yourself by what God has revealed, it means here. It's called Jahannam. In Hebrew, Gehenna. In English, hell. There is a legal obligation for all aspects of life, even in secular law. If you kill someone, there is a punishment to the crime. There wasn't. Chaos will ensure and people will do what they want. You must follow a law to be a useful member of society. So even in secular systems, they have to understand there must be some type of legal system by which we govern society by. The difference between a secular system and an Islamic system is that we base the legal system from the principles as laid down in the Quran and the sayings and doings of the life of the Prophet Muhammad.